Welcome inside the WB Mason Coaches Report. Ryan Mayer here with the head coach of the Hofstra Pride baseball team, John Russo. And Coach, last week you guys had 5 games, 2 during the course of the week, and then a weekend series against conference-leading UNC Wilmington. First off, just how tough is it to prepare a team for a stressful week like that, where you have 5 games, 2 of them back-to-back, and then a weekend series?
It was really hard. The thing that this team doesn't have much of is depth, position player-wise. So we have to run out most of the same starters night in and day out, and it's not because of who's playing well, it's just because of what we have depth-wise. And a lot of people, like when we're beating New York Tech, they're like, hey, why don't you sub out for Danny or somebody, and there just isn't somebody to sub out. And not only do we have the Tuesday, Wednesday, we had a whole day travel down on Thursday because we went by bus because of the spring break, and just made it for a long weekend, and then we got back really late on Sunday night at 4:30, so that's going to be another tough week coming up here.
Now, obviously, you mentioned that New York Tech game, a 24-1 win for you guys. Obviously, don't get to sub many people out because of the lack of bench players, but what did you see from the offense in that game that allowed them to be so successful?
We've been swinging the bats really well. I think we might be one of the tops in the country, and so we just, caught New York Tech at the right time, I think. And, Danny had a really big game going 6 for 6 with the 2 homers, and really swung the bat well. And it was good to get going, and, in thought, you're like, I hope that gets us going for the big week we had going with St. John's and Wilmington. But then from the baseball side of it, I argue at some point we're not going to get hits. So I think we might have wasted a lot of our hits early on Tuesday.
Now, obviously, the St. John's was that next game. You end up losing that contest. You start John Shilton. That's a role that we've seen him go in and out of so far this year, that weekday starter and then back to the bullpen. What did you see from him in his return to a starter-type role during the course of the week?
He's been pitching really well and a lot better of late. And, if I could have avoided it, if we would have had a little bit more, if we wouldn't have had the Tuesday game, I would have probably pitched somebody else on Wednesday. John transferred in from St. John's, and, a little bit of drama there, and I'm a big not drama guy. And, it was a tough outing for John at there. They were really excited to face him. And, for us, not to say it wasn't exciting to play St. John's, but we were already looking ahead towards the Wilmington preview, and St. John's is a team you can't look past. They're too good. They're, it was preseason 11th in the country, and really swung it well offensively that day. Their pitching is outstanding. It's always been outstanding, and the kid who threw against us that day, Lovan, was, really quality, and, definitely the right matchup for us that day because we didn't do much against him.
Now, obviously, you speak about the fact that Thursday was a day of travel all the way down to UNC Wilmington to take on them down there. Conference leader going into the weekend, you guys at the number 2 spot. Friday night, you see the return of Jared Rogers really to the starting rotation. Goes 5 innings, gives up 5 runs, all of them earned. What did you see from him in his outing, returning to the starting rotation, get a little bit more work in that arm?
Jared, before that, had been pretty good attacking people with his fastball and, really spotting up. And, against Wilmington on Friday night, I thought, he was going more for strikeouts, not pitching the contact. I thought the success he was having the previous weeks was pitching the contact. And, he's got to have a lot of trust, and I think he did it. He just, it was a big game. It was a night atmosphere. It was 1 versus 2. It was, Baseball America-esque. And, Jared just was hyped up, and I think he was trying to make better pitches than what he had to. And, I think if Jared had a do-over on the weekend, he'd probably pitch a lot better. He just got caught up a little bit in the emotion.
Now, you guys only scored 3 runs in that game, but obviously with the trip down on Thursday and also the 2 games before that, how much do you contribute the fact that you were only able to muster 3 runs to their starting pitching in Tyler McSwain, or how much of it was the offense just being tired from the week that you had had so far?
The Tyler McSwain's really good as a senior starter, been a Friday night guy 2 years in a row, and he really held base runners well. And the thing that I thought the St. John's game and that Friday game, we got out of being who we were. We pitch, and defense is obviously what we've been doing real well, successful. But on the offensive side of things, we like to create runs. And, we get after on the bases, and we ran into some failures. Georgia State threw us out 8 times, and even New York Tech had a couple throwouts against us on Tuesday. It seemed for the first time all year we were really passive against St. John's, and then again passive Friday night. And that was the big talk we had afterwards. We weren't playing who we were. I thought we had McSwain in trouble a few times. We had bases loaded twice. We had second and third one out one time, and we never cashed in. And people could argue, wow, we didn't get the big hit. But it really hasn't been our philosophy to sit back all year, wait for the big hit. We like to make things happen and put as less pressure on the hitter as possible. And, on Friday night, we put no pressure on them. And, we got a little bit of what we deserved.
Now Saturday, obviously, you get a little bit more rest from the Friday night game going into Saturday. You get an outstanding outing out of John Tiedemann. This is now a couple of quality starts in a row from him. He goes 8 innings. It takes you all the way there, only giving up 1 run against the conference leading team. What did you see from his pitching performance, and how has it progressed the past couple of games to allow him to go so deep?
John and our pitching coach, Coach Vinny, they made an adjustment about a few weeks ago, and John's a little bit of a spinner when his wind up, and he gets off balance a little bit, and they fix a little bit on his balance point with his weight on his feet, on his heels, and it just seems ever since he's made that adjustment, he's been lights out. And you could say, oh, well, last week he was 8 2/3 against Georgia State. He was great. Well, even this weekend against Wilmington, he was better. He was 8 innings, 4 hits, really dominant, coming off a team that was really hot. I think they've been undefeated at home, and they were just a really good team, and he dominated. And but their pitcher was just as good that night. We had 10 hits and put a lot of people on, but it seemed like every time we got runners on, he made bigger pitches than when he did with nobody else on. And, it was too bad John had to lose that game because, when a kid pitches that well, usually that's a win.
Now, obviously, coming off 2 losses in the first 2 games, you want to go out on Sunday, get another strong outing, and you do so from Dave Jesh, again, pitching very well in the Sunday game, ends up coming away with a 4-2 win for you guys. How proud are you of your guys to be able to go out there on Sunday after losing the first 2 to the conference leader, and say, we're going to put it behind us and come out with a win here?
I was real worried. But after the game on Saturday, I was walking out of the stadium with our pitching coach, Coach Vinny, and he says to me, he goes, I've been around baseball a long time, and that's the most proud I've ever been of a team. And I said, well, we lost. And he goes, yeah. He goes, but look at how down they are. He goes, every guy, this hurt. And, that tells you what a good, strong team you have when every guy is right there. And so we met that night, and, after getting to hash out a few things that we thought we were doing well and not well, and, Tiedemann learned a lot about their hitters because he, threw, so we thought we figured out some good things on how to pitch them, and guys were seeing some things they could do stealing bases-wise, and so we talked it out for about a good half hour. It was a good venting session on Saturday night, and I had a good feeling we were going to come give a strong effort on Sunday. To pull out the win is awesome because it made the drive home a lot better, but I thought it was a win we deserved. David pitched really well. He went 7 innings. Verbitsky really recovered. He threw really well in the 9th inning. He just got a seeing eye single, right between first and second to lose that game. And, he had 6 up, 6 down, and, and then Dalton and Danny just at the top of the order, really answered. And I was really happy for Dalton because, it's been a while since he got going, but that's what he can do offensively. He can win us a game if he plays well. And, that's Danny Poma-esque, that's Kenny Jackson-esque and Hammer-esque. And, one thing that happened this weekend that I was real excited about was I feel like we got Hammer back. Even though his numbers weren't that great, of late he hadn't been the guy we got used to seeing. And his numbers been good, but, on Saturday night he had a big 2-out, 2 RBI, 3-2 count single, knocked in a run. And then on Sunday he got the big single to start the game, and after Danny and Dalton were able to double steal and take second and third, he got the knock to knock them both in. And we had a lot of positives come out of a weekend that we lost 2 out of 3, and like you said, it feels really good to be able to beat the first place team at their place is always a tough deal, and we're inches away from taking 2.
Now, Coach, one of the things that we always talk about is the aggressive style on the base paths, and Hofstra currently in the lead in the nation in terms of stolen bases per game with just under 3 a game. Is that a number you've kind of said anything to your guys about? Do they know about that number?
Oh, they know all the numbers.
Okay.
You can't hide numbers from kids. I think the worst thing that ever happened was statistics on the internet, and you can spin them in every direction and every stat and every thing imaginable. I don't remember ever knowing what an average was or anything. And these guys know their OPS, their OP, whatever it is, and so they obviously know, and I think they're really proud of it. As a coaching staff, we're really proud of it, and but more importantly, I think it just sets the tone of who we are. We're one speed, and it's full speed ahead, and that's what we really talked about on Friday night. Is we got back to sitting back, waiting to make things happen, and I thought we got back to being who we were on Saturday, right in the first inning. We had first and second. Ford fake punted, and Dalton and Danny stole, and they were like, whoa, but that's how we played all year. And I think when Dalton and Danny did that, it just gave a breath of fresh air, like, all right, we're back. And, I think that sets the tone of who we are, and we play defense that way, and full speed ahead, diving and making plays, and then pitching, it's pitching in and attacking hitters and pitching to contact, and, it just fits the whole MO of what we're trying to do.
Now, looking forward to this week, again, another 4 games coming up for you on the week. You have Fordham first on Wednesday, and then after that, a weekend set. James Madison comes to University Field to take you guys on. First off, Fordham, a little bit of a local rivalry. What are you expecting out of that game coming up on Wednesday?
We had a tough split with them earlier. We split one, and we took the game 1 from them. Tiedemann actually beat them on a Sunday, and then Schilt actually lost to them on game 2, and Schilt's going to start tomorrow against them. And we're also going to pitch Nick Kozlowski. He's been pitching really well, and the one thing we know about Fordham is they're really tough, and numbers, whatever, you can take that out when you're facing a Kevin Layton team. Kevin Layton's a tough guy, their head coach, and their team's going to be really tough. And, hopefully, we get a good performance with Schilt and Nick, and play some defense and get the offense back going. James Madison this weekend, I know their record doesn't show what they've done, but they won 5 out of their last 6, and a late inning loss against ODU on Sunday, or they'd be 6 for their last 6. And, they were preseason picked number 1 to start the year, and hosting the tournament, and just started really playing well. And the thing that's really picked up for them is adding guys back to the lineup. Liddell had been out for a long time. McFarland, the coach's son, is back, and I'm looking at their offensive numbers, and they put up really staggering, pretty numbers of late. And you have a couple guys that 13-game hitting streaks, a couple guys 8 hitting streaks, a couple guys 7. And it seemed like almost a lot of every guy in their lineup right now is hitting since they got Liddell back and McFarland back. And I know their record's very misleading, but I think we're in for a really tough matchup this weekend.
Now, what do you say to your guys when you realize that James Madison, despite their record at 6-12, still now they're getting some guys back and they're returning to what preseason was expected of them? What do you say to your guys to try and make sure they recognize that?
I think the one thing I'm going to talk to them about, and I know that I have their attention on, is the Delaware State series. We went in there and lost on Friday, and I think we very much underestimated them, and then we took them serious on Saturday, Sunday, and played a lot better, and had to play really good just to get the wins. And I think after that learning experience, I don't think they'll take an opponent lightly, especially it being conference, especially trying to battle for what we're trying to do here and make the tournament. And and like I said, everything gets dictated off the mound for us, and you keep hating to put the pressure on them, but that's where it's at. Pitching wins this game, and we'll go with Jared again, and Tiedemann and Jesh, and they've been pretty good, and hopefully we can keep rolling with them.
All right, well, head coach Russo, thanks for joining me this week inside the WB Mason Coaches Report.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ryan.